I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Burns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
And we now have a website.
We need a better slogan than that for the week. Give me one.
I mean, we keep the hot and the cool.
We are the McDLT.
It would seem so.
You know, I remember the McDLT pretty well. If anyone out there does not know what the McDLT is, it was a McDonald's burger in the 1980s that did not succeed.
Why not?
Well, see, it had the hard styrofoam boxes, they used to use for burgers.
Dude, I have not thought of, now that you mention it, I have not thought of those styrofoam boxes in maybe 20 years.
Well, it had those.
Like, I just had a flashback.
But they were double size, right? And they had two compartments instead of... And in one compartment was the burger and the bun. That was the hot side.
Okay.
And the other one had lettuce and tomato, the cool side. So it was supposed to keep the hot and the cool.
Okay. Wow, what a feat of engineering.
Yeah. Well, in practice, in the words of my friend, the late, great Carlos Alonso, he actually said this: it kept the hot lukewarm and the cool lukewarm. It also used twice as much styrofoam as the other burgers, just when the world was becoming notoriously anti-styrofoam for food packaging products.
So it failed.
It did, but if you look up McDLT on YouTube, you can find the old commercials for it, starring a young Jason Alexander several years before Seinfeld made him famous.
Okay, that should be worth watching for
sure. It really is.
Okay, I need to look that up.
And I'll tell you, I will now actually talk about baseball, which this podcast is about, by pointing out that the Houston Astros had a guy last season pitching for them who's still with the organization, but in the minors at the moment, and his name is Jason Alexander.
And you call him George Costanza?
No, me and my Astros pals just call him Costanza.
Costanza.
You got it. But hey, you mentioned we do now have a website for the podcast, and it is true. And it's just baseballhistorytimemachine.com. And there you can listen to all the episodes at a variety of platforms, and importantly, you can contact us there quite easily.
Which we definitely urge you to do.
Which we do, because it can take a while to get an answer from us on our Instagram or Facebook pages.
So we implore you to go there.
We don't implore them.
I implore them.
Okay, Burns implores you.
I am imploring you to do so.
I just suggested it would be nice if you do so.
I am imploring you. But now, okay, to the baseball.
Okay, on to baseball. I will talk today about what I wanted to talk about last time, but did not have time to.
You had plenty of time, but got sidetracked into talking about Guy Hecker in the 1880s and the Rockford team in the 1860s.
And Ross Barnes in the 1870s and Bill Lang in the 1890s. But yes, I did.
But what you wanted to talk about is something that Rogers Hornsby did not do, which you still haven't told us what he did not do.
I still have not, and I will, but I will begin by saying, because I have to lead into this, what every school child knows, that Rogers Hornsby averaged over 400 for a 5-season period.
Between 1921 and 1925, correct?
Yeah, he hit 397, 401, 384, 424, and 403 for the Cardinals, winning all 5 batting titles, which actually made 6 in a row since he led the league with 370 with a 370 average in 1920.
But how did he do in 1926?
His batting average dropped to 317, an 86-point drop.
Ooh, what happened?
He had some physical issues that year. He had a few physical issues that year, but it was, despite that, I'm opening my water while I'm doing it. It was, despite that, actually a banner year for Rogers Hornsby.
How so?
He was the player-manager of the Cardinals, and he led them to their first pennant since they won 4 straight pennants in the American Association, 1885 to 1888, when they were the original St. Louis Browns.
Yeah. And that was starring Parisian Bob Carruthers.
Oh, yes.
Pod favorite.
Our favorite. He's one of our favorites, yeah. They then won the 1926 World Series in a dramatic 7-game series against Babe Ruth and the Yankees.
As dramatic as some of the other ones we've covered, like 1947 and 1960?
Yeah, for sure. Like those two.
Okay.
It even featured one of the most iconic moments in baseball history, starring none other than Dode Alexander.
Grover Cleveland Alexander.
A.K.A. Old Pete, but his friends called him Dode.
We haven't talked about him in months. You got to tell us the stories of the story of the 1926 series. Cause
I hadn't planned on it, but sure, why not?
Hit me. Let's go.
Well, Hornsby's Cardinals won a tight pennant race by 2 games over the Reds. Now, the Cardinals featured MVP catcher Bob O'Farrell, in addition to Hornsby, and shortstop and third base Tommy Thevenot and Les Bell, who finished 4th and 6th in the MVP voting, and 20-game winner Flint Ream, who finished 8th, and whose name, his middle name, really was Flint. It wasn't a nickname.
Okay, that's
right?
cool.
They also had Grover Alexander near the end of his career.
If you hear that like medley of names and you're like, this is a pretty stacked team.
Yeah.
So how did Hornsby do?
Well, I mean, the MVP voting. Okay, well, this was when you were still only eligible to win one MVP, and he'd won it in 1925. Now, he would be the first, we've already mentioned this before, but he would be the first to win 2 National League MVPs when you were allowed to in 1929.
What were the Reds like back then?
They were good.
Okay.
Catcher Bubbles Hargrave won the batting title hitting .353. The first guy who played exclusively catcher in a season to ever win the batting title.
Okay, but wait. Bubbles?
Yeah. The nicknames
Bubbles?
again. Apparently, he was a stutterer. Well, that's one explanation why.
That's so mean, though.
But he supposedly had special trouble with the letter B, right? So they called him Bubbles.
That is so awful. Okay, but tell me a bit about Bubbles Hargrave.
What about the 1926 World Series?
Do Bubbles Hargrave first. I mean, we've stumbled upon it. Let's not leave the.
Well, his real name was not Bubbles, obviously. His parents didn't call him that. His real name was Eugene.
That would have been so
He
cool.
was born before the turn of the century, actually. He was born in 1892. So he'd already turned 34 when he won the batting title in 1926. Wow. His dad fought for the Union in the Civil War, even though the family was from North Carolina.
Okay, that's super interesting, actually.
He fought with the 121st Ohio Infantry, so he must have been like 50 or maybe more when Eugene was born, right?
Okay.
Now, Eugene had one brother who fought in the Spanish-American War in 1898, and another brother who fought in the First World War in 1918, so it was a military family.
That begs the question, did Bubbles ever serve?
He did not,
Okay.
but he did start working life as an upholsterer. But already by 1911, he was catching in Class B ball. The Cubs soon enough bought his contract, and he played like 40 or so total games with them, 1913, 14, and 15. But he was the third string catcher. So after that, he was back in the minors. But the high minors now.
I'm guessing he did well.
He did very well. In 1920, he had a breakout year with the St. Paul Saints, hitting .335 to just miss the batting title. And he hit 22 homers, which was second in the league. Cincinnati got him for $10,000, outbidding the Yankees, among others. He was the Reds' regular catcher the next 7 years, hitting over .300 every time, except the first year when he hit .289, still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still decent.
After 1928, the Reds put him on waivers thinking he was done. But back with St. Paul, he hit .369. So the Yankees got him for part-time duty in 1930, and that was it for his major league career. But hey, wait. You want to hear a good Bubbles Hargrave story?
At this point, who doesn't? I mean, come on.
His Saber bio says something that sometimes happened to him in addition to the stuttering. This is a quote. Right?
Okay.
Hang on. Apparently, when he became excited, his jaw tightened. Arguing with umpire Ted McGrew late in his career, he couldn't get any words out. McGrew told Hargrave, "Never mind, Bubbles. I'll help you out. I'll say what you want to say. McGrew, you're the lousiest umpire in the world. You never was any good. You're blind and dumb. You ought to be in some other business." Hargrave, jaw now relaxed, could only say, "You win."
That's an incredible one-sided argument.
I love that. I think I can totally picture
That's
it too.
so good. I love the old players and umpires, the way they would actually go at it.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was par for the course. You knew if you were going to get a bunch of calls wrong, you were going to hear about it, right?
Yeah, somebody was going to...
and you're going to get as good as you give.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of lost in the modern day thing. They're too quickly to eject the guys.
Yeah.
And not just give them a little runway. I don't mind this.
Remember when we saw when Heine Manouche, was counting his at-bats to try to win the batting title last game, and he was trying to get ejected, and the umpire's like, "You can do whatever the hell you like, but you are going to stand there, and you are going to take the pitches for this at-bat. There's nothing you can do that is going to get you ejected."
10 out of 10.
That was great. That was the American League, 1926.
Cool.
But 1926 began badly for Bubbles because he had appendicitis at the start of the season. He did soon recover without surgery.
Okay.
And as the season went on, and it became apparent that Hornsby was not going to win a 7th straight batting title, it looked like it might be Bubbles or one of the Reds' outfielders, Rube Bressler or Cuckoo Christensen.
Cuckoo?
Okay, I do not know why he was called Cuckoo, but Cuckoo Christensen was called. I'll look it up. I don't know. I don't know why.
Insane.
You're embarrassing me now.
That's so funny though.
Well, anyhow, Bressler got appendicitis of his own that August, and the season ended, so he missed a lot of games, right?
Jeez.
With those three Reds all at the top of the batting race. Rube hit 357, but in just 86 games.
Jeez.
Bubbles hit 353 in 105. Cuckoo hit 350 in 114, but they didn't decide who won the batting title until December.
How come?
They didn't have a hard and fast rule as to what exactly qualified one for the title, like how many at-bats or plate appearances or games played. Okay. There were people like Billy Evans, the umpire sports writer, who said 100 games played was the unofficial standard you needed to have, but unofficial. And in December, National League President John Heidler ruled that Bubbles Hargrave was the batting champion.
But would he had been the champion under current rules?
He would not. See, nowadays you need 3.1 plate appearances per game your team plays, which is 502 in a 162-game schedule. Yeah. Oh, well, they played 154 back then, but still. None of the top four official batting average leaders in the National League in 1926 would meet today's criteria. So Pirates rookie and future Hall of Famer Paul Wainer, who we've talked about before, who is credited as finishing fifth in the batting race, would have won with a 336 batting average.
Robbed. Absolutely wrong. That sucks for him, though.
It doesn't suck so much because in 1927 he hit 380 and he won the batting title and the MVP. But anyhow, that was the 1926 Reds, who had a lot of good players.
Yes.
They were actually in first place as late as September 15th, but they dropped 6 straight to end up 2 games behind the Cardinals. Wainer's Pirates were 4.5 games behind at the end, having been in first place in late August. And Hack Wilson and the Cubs were 7 games back, although they never seriously challenged.
You mentioned Alexander.
Jason or Grover? I mentioned both.
Grover.
Well, he was still good at the age of 39. In fact, in 1927, he would have his last 20-win season. Okay. The Cardinals got him mid-season 1926 from the Cubs, and he was a big star in the World Series.
Okay, here comes the story.
Here it comes. The 1926 World Series. Now, this is going to be a good story. You're going to like this. Everybody out there, you're going to really like this. If you don't know the story of the 1926 World Series, it's as exciting as 1960. You mentioned 47 and 60, which I've talked about before, right? Okay, 1926 World Series. Now, the Yankees had finished in 7th in 1925, but in 1926 they were back in form. Ruth missed much of 1925 with the stomachache heard around the world.
Say what?
A story for another time.
Okay.
No. In 1926, Ruth was back on form. Lou Gehrig played his first full season at first base, and they also had rookie and future Hall of Famer Tony Lazzeri. Okay. However, even as late as September 23rd, the Indians were only 2 games behind the Yankees, so it wasn't all like smooth sailing,
right?
Exactly,
yeah.
Game 1. The Yankees started another future Hall of Famer, Herb Pennock, on the mound, and he did not disappoint, winning a 3-hitter over Bill Schertle 2-1 in the rain. There was an interesting moment in the game, though.
I bet there were several of them.
In the bottom of the 3rd, Ruth singled, and Bob Musial bunted him over to second base, right?
Okay.
And Babe Ruth split his pants sliding into second. The radio announcer said, "Ruth is the color of a red brick house." He was so embarrassed, right? Yeah. The team trainer came out on the field, because he's not going to walk back to the dugout, came out on the field and sewed his pants up while they paused the game.
I would have loved to see that. That must have been an incredible sight.
Yeah. And it's Babe Ruth.
Like, what do? Your pants is literally split down the middle, and you're standing there.
And you have to lie there and be while the guy can sew it together. Because again,
you can't just stand, right?
No,
it could make it harder to do.
I don't know if he was wearing a jockstrap or nothing underneath or whatever. You can't just take the pants.
Babe Ruth famously commandoing.
I don't think the papers would have used the word commando then. Okay, in Game 2. It was Alexander's turn to dominate, winning a 4-hitter over Urban Shocker, 6-2, striking out 10.
Hold up. Urban Shocker?
Urban Shocker. His dad was French going way back, and he was born Urbain Jacques Chocor. So, in This Is America, I call him Urban Shocker. Now, Shocker was a spitballer, but he was one of those grandfathered when it was outlawed in 1920. He was a big star for the Browns for a few years. He won 27 games in 1921. Jeez. He won 19 more for the 26 Yankees, but not Game 2 of the World Series. Ooh. The series then went to St. Louis for Game 3, and the mayor ordered that the workday end at 3 p.m. that day, October 5th, so everyone could welcome the Cardinals at Union Station.
How I wish that sort of thing still happened today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they fly around, but you know which train they're coming on and stuff.
Yeah.
When the Cardinals arrived, the mayor was there, and he presented Hornsby with a new Lincoln car paid for by the city's wealthy businessmen.
Wait, this season was like, what, exactly 100 years ago, if you think about it.
1926, yeah. That never hit me. Wow, yeah. We're doing the 100-year thing. Okay.
Centenary.
Each of the players, each of the Cardinals, got a new hat, a new pair of shoes, and an engraved watch. That's what you did in the 20s. They wouldn't give you a new hat now.
But that's fancy, though. I would like a new hat.
Yeah.
I wear hats all the time.
I wear shoes fairly often as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Future Hall of Famer Jesse Haynes, for the Cardinals, shut out the Yankees 4-0, much to the joy of the fans, who braved rain delays to watch the action. In Game 4, yet another future Hall of Famer, Waite Hoyt, was on the mound for the Yankees, and they romped to an easy 10-5 win. But this game was a very remarkable game.
In what way?
In the 6th inning, Babe Ruth came up. Now, he already had 2 homers and a walk through 5 innings. Okay. This is what the radio announcer had to say. I'll do my 1920s radio announcer voice as I hear it in my head.
Okay.
3-2. The Babe is waving that wand of his over the plate. Bell is loosening up his arm. The Babe hits clear into the center field bleachers for a home run. Did you hear what I said? Where is that fellow who told me not to talk about Ruth anymore? Send him up here. Oh, what a shot. Directly over second. The boys are all over him there. One of the boys is riding on Ruth's back. Oh, what a shot. Directly over second base, far into the bleachers out in center field, and almost on a line. And then that dumbbell, where is he, who told me not to talk about Ruth? Oh, boy. Not that I love Ruth, but oh, how I love to see a shot like that. Wow. That is a World Series record. 3 home runs in 1 World Series game, and what a home run. That was probably the longest hit ever in Sportsman's Park. They tell me this is the first ball ever hit in the center field stand. That is 1.5 miles from here. That's the quote. It was not actually 1.5 miles, but the ball cleared the park and went through the window of a car dealership across the street.
Makes you think, where's that ball today?
I wonder who owns that ball. Somebody's got to own that ball.
Somebody must have gotten really annoyed because it got hit through.
The guy that runs the car dealership.
Yeah, you got there the next morning because everything closed at 3, right?
You can buy a car dealership with that ball.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
Thing is, those 3 homers are responsible for one of the most famous baseball anecdotes, which may or may not be true, or partly true, or something.
What is it?
Well, an 11-year-old boy, Johnny Sylvester, was hospitalized after falling off a horse. Maybe. He asked his father to get him a ball signed by Ruth, so his dad sent telegrams to the Yankees explaining the situation and asking for a ball. This was just before the series began. He got 2 balls, one signed by the Cardinals team and one by a bunch of Yankees, with a message from Ruth saying he'll knock a homer for little Johnny on Wednesday. That Game 4 with the 3 home runs in the World Series was that Wednesday.
There's only one Babe.
Now, the story is that after Ruth hit 3 home runs in Game 4, the papers reported that Sylvester's condition had miraculously improved. After the World Series ended, Ruth made a highly publicized visit to Sylvester's home. In the spring of 1927, Sylvester's uncle visited Ruth and thanked him for saving the boy's life. Ruth asked how the boy was doing and asked the uncle to give the boy his regards. After the man left, Ruth, who was seated next to a group of baseball writers, supposedly said, "Now who the hell is Johnny Sylvester?"
Brilliant.
Thing is, there are claims Ruth never visited the boy in person.
Where was the boy?
In New Jersey.
Okay.
And the boy may have in fact suffered from blood poisoning, not falling off a horse, and he may in fact not even have been hospitalized at all.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is that there was a boy and there were 3 homers.
Well, there were definitely 3 homers, but that looks to be the case. Now, Game 5, right, was a rematch between Pennock and Neidell, and it was a doozy. The Yankees tied the game 2-2 in the top of the 9th, but with 2 men on and 1 out, could not take the lead. They did take the lead in the top of the 10th on a bases-loaded flyout by Lazzari.
Did he also have a cool nickname like Bubbles, Babe, Cuckoo, and all the rest? Or
He did, actually.
Okay.
He was Italian-American, and he was called Push 'em Up Tony, and it was P-O-O-S-H, not push. It was push. It was Push 'em Up Tony. So you write it with an accent, right?
incredible.
It turned out his fly ball. You know, it's funny. We mentioned high pockets, Kelly. I was at the batting cage with my pal Chris a few days ago, and he said, "Oh, I listened to the last episode." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "High pockets."
High pockets.
Well, he was tall. They have great nicknames, right? Well, Push 'em Up Tony's fly out turned out to win the game, the ninth inning, since the Cards could not score in the bottom of the 10th. Game 6 is back in New York, with the Yankees trying to win the second World Series title in franchise history.
What was the first again?
In 1923.
Okay.
Alexander is on the mound again against Bob Shockey. Shockey gives up 3 Cardinal runs in the first inning, and that is all Alex the Great needs to get his second win of the series, another complete game, and the Cardinals pounded the Yankees 10-2 to set up Game 7, right?
Fascinating stuff.
The 2 Hall of Fame hurlers, Jesse Haynes for the Cardinals and Waite Hoyt for the Yankees, are to duel for the title.
Oh, that's such a billboard affair.
Yeah,
that's such a billboard affair.
All of America was listening to this on the radio.
Of course. Why wouldn't
you had no TV, no internet. You had limited choices for entertainment like this.
I've had to, while I was living in South Africa still, I would have to sometimes settle for listening to it on the MLB app with the broadcast.
Well, I
couldn't get the video. The internet wasn't.
Yeah,
good
but it's
enough.
okay. You lying there in bed with the radio on.
It sounds good. I would usually be driving to work if it's a late game. If it's on the West Coast, I'd be driving to work. Otherwise, I would have to, like you said, lie in bed and just listen.
Well, when I was a kid, I'd listen to the games a lot. The last major thing I listened to on the radio in 2001, for those of you who aren't familiar with Sweden, Hammarby is one of the football teams, the soccer teams, right? And they've been around since 1897, but it wasn't until 2001 they won their first championship, right? And my neighborhood, shut up. My neighborhood is a Hammarby neighborhood. You know, it goes by. It's like in Chicago, you got the South Side is the White Sox. You know, and when they were going to play, if they won the game, they were going to win the title. There's one of the big local bars. It's a real Hammarby place called Kvarnen, but it was absolutely packed from when it opened. So impossible. And they had a TV in there, so you could watch it.
Game,
so a couple doors away is a little shitty bar called Carmen, and in Carmen Carmen didn't have a basement then, but we were like maybe 200 people crammed around a radio.
Wow.
The entire place was jam-packed, crammed around a radio, listening to Hammarby win the game to win the title.
Jeez.
Boy, that was fun. Yeah, but the radio is exciting. I didn't need a TV. The radio is great.
Not. You can imagine everything. Like when we used to visit my grandmother when I was younger. I'm trying to think. Like I listened to some rugby on the radio. Maybe when me and my dad were like driving, visiting my grandma, or like on the way back from somewhere we couldn't catch the game. You would be able to listen to either cricket or rugby on the radio, and it has a different vibe to it. Yeah.
Yeah, baseball's good on the radio. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow night.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
I mean, the Astros are playing early enough for me to follow it on TV, but maybe I'll just lie on the couch, just lie there, and have some wine, and listen to the Astros.
Have you ever tried to sync if you don't like the broadcast, have you ever tried to sync the radio and the... Because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes the guys annoy me.
Yeah,
like, every now and then they annoy me, and I'm like, let me just turn on WGN because I cannot listen to this right now.
Oh, hey, by the way, anybody out there that has connections with any of the major league teams, Burns and I would be very happy to be their radio announcers, whoever they were. I don't care if it's the Rockies. Well,
Hey, I'd go do the Rockies. I'd go live in Colorado.
You could be the angry color commentator, and I'll be. Okay, just so you know, we're up for the job.
Up for any gig,
and
any gig,
like
any
that.
team. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. We will travel.
Okay, Game 7 of the 1926 World Series. Jesse Haynes versus Waite Hoyt. In the third inning, Babe Ruth homers, again, to give the Yankees the lead 1-0. But the Cardinals load the bases in the top of the fourth. Then Bob Musial in left field literally drops a fly by Bob O'Farrell. So the score is tied and the bases are still loaded. Tommy Thibodeau hits a 2-run single. The Cards are up 3-1 on 3 unearned runs. There were 2 Yankee errors in the inning. In the sixth inning, a single and a double by the Yankees scores Joe Dugan, so it's 3-2.
Okay.
Pennock relieves Hoyt in the top of the seventh. In the bottom of the seventh, the Yankees get Earl Combs, Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig to load the bases with 2 outs, but Jesse Haynes has a blister on his hand and he can't pitch anymore, or other sources say his knuckles were bleeding and he could not pitch any more knuckleballs, only fastballs. And Push 'em Up Tony Lazzeri, who hit 60 homers in the minor leagues in 1925, which was a record for organized baseball at the time. He's up next, and he's a fastball hitter. And if all Haynes can pitch his fastballs, well, Hornsby's like, okay, what should I do? I'm taking him out. And who comes in to pitch? Who does Hornsby choose? Shuffling in from the bullpen with his cap that never seems to quite fit comes epileptic, alcoholic, 39-year-old Dode Alexander.
That's insane. He just like pitched the complete game the day before.
The day before.
Like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like
and while Alexander would later deny what I'm about to say, saying Hornsby told him he might be needed in that game, most versions of the story have Alexander either nursing a hangover after celebrating winning yesterday or already drinking. The Baseball Reference bullpen, the BR bullpen version of this story, says he was not drunk, but was likely hungover at least a bit.
Yeah.
Their version goes that Flint Rim was in the bullpen where Alexander was dozing with a pint of whiskey in his pocket.
Yeah.
According to Rim, Alexander grinned, staggered a little, this is a quote part, staggered a little, handed me the pint, hitched up his britches, and walked straight as he could to the mound. Hornsby handed him the ball for one of the most famous and iconic at-bats in all of baseball history. The plan was to pitch Lazzeri low and outside. The first pitch was a curve that missed, but another pitch hit the corner. So it's 1-1. Alexander threw one more curve, and Lazzeri connected hard. A home run all the way, Hornsby said later. Tony jumped at it and hit the hell out of it, Bell said. The ball went soaring down the left field line, and 38,069 people saw a grand slam coming till the ball hooked foul at the last instant, either by several feet or a few inches, depending on the eyewitness.
Of course.
Less than a foot made the difference between a hero and a bum, Alexander himself said afterwards. O'Farrell went to the mound. I thought we were going to pitch him low and outside, O'Farrell said. He'll never get another one like that, Alexander replied. The next pitch was a fastball low and outside. Lazzeri swung and missed. The inning was over. Alexander flipped his glove into foul territory and walked off the mound. Now, look up the 1926 World Series on Wikipedia, and you get this.
Okay.
Right? This is another quote. Hornsby decided to trust him after Alexander said he had it easy in there in Game 6 and would be ready whenever Hornsby needed him. According to the popular legend, Alexander told Hornsby his strategy. After getting a strike on Lazzeri, Alexander would then throw an inside fastball. Hornsby warned him that that pitch was Lazzeri's favorite. Alexander responded, if Lazzeri swung at it, he would hit it foul, and Alexander would then throw an outside curve to strike him out. Hornsby then supposedly said, who am I to tell you how to pitch?
Basically, one of the 5 or 10 greatest hitters ever discussing strategy with one of the 5 or 10 greatest pitchers ever. I would pay a lot of money to see that. Imagine the mound with it's like, what the hell are you doing? I thought we were pitching low and away. What are you doing?
You realize you're talking to Grover fucking Alexander. Exactly. Then again, it is Rogers Hornsby. He knows a thing or two about hitting.
To be fair, he's like, we agreed that this is what we were going to do. What are you doing, dude? That's so funny.
But who am I to tell you how to pitch? Now, that account, though, says, as the other one, the first 2 pitches thrown by Alexander to Lazzeri went for a strike and a ball. On the third pitch, Lazzeri hit the fly ball down the left field line. The ball initially appeared to be going into the stands for a grand slam. Curved at the last second, curved several feet into foul territory. Alexander then threw a curveball, it says, that Lazzeri swung at and missed for strike 3, ending the inning and the Yankees' threat.
So we don't really know if the third strike was a fastball or a curve.
I guess we don't, because there's conflicting accounts of it.
I don't think it really matters. He's out.
Yeah.
So does it matter?
I'll tell you what, though. Google Tony Lazzeri. It's 2 Z's and 1 R. Lazzeri. Google Tony Lazzeri 1926 World Series, and you'll see a photo of him screaming just after striking out with the bases loaded. It's an amazing photo, and I really should print out and frame it.
Sounds great.
When we finish this, I'll show you. You're gonna love it. You guys check it out. Great photo. Well, Alex the Great sets down the Yankees in the 8th, and in the bottom of the 9th, he just has to preserve the lead to win the championship for St. Louis.
This must have been all in movies, right?
Yeah, back in the day. This was mega famous stuff.
Yeah, of course.
In the bottom of the 9th, Alexander gets Combs and Dugan to ground out to third. So Babe Ruth comes up with the Yanks needing a run to tie the game. If there's one person in baseball history that you want coming up when you need a run, right? Yeah.
You can't have more drama than this. This is bottom of the 9th.
Babe Ruth is versus Grover Alexander.
Exactly.
For the
Two outs, spot on the 9.
Yeah.
You need 1 run to win. Let's go.
1 run to tie, actually.
Oh, 1 run to tie, sorry.
So Alex works the count full, but walks Ruth. His 4th walk of the day. Ruth walked for the 4th time. Now, the Wikipedia says the pitch was so close to being a strike that Ruth hesitated before heading to first. And the BR bullpen says Alexander walked in to get the ball from O'Farrell, from catcher O'Farrell, and home plate umpire George Hildebrand motioned the pitch had just missed. And Alexander apparently said to Hildebrand, "If it was that close, I think you could give it to an old geezer like me."
So, tying run on base,
yeah,
winning run at bat, and who's up?
The next 2 hitters are Bob Musial, who led the AL in homers and RBIs in 1925, and after him, Lou Gehrig, who had a wee bit of power.
Oh man, how do you even throw a ball? In
You're
that
the
situation?
pitcher.
Like, what do you do? How do you work?
Well, it turned out he did not have to throw that many balls. Okay. On the first pitch, Ruth tried to steal second.
And how did that go?
Contrary to what people think, Ruth was athletic and he was fast. And he said later, if he got into scoring position, they could more easily tie the game.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, Musial swung and missed at a strike. O'Farrell fires the ball to second baseman Rogers Hornsby. He puts the tag on Ruth for the 3rd out, and the World Series is over.
The World Series ended because you were caught stealing?
The only time it ever happened.
What?
And the actual play involved the best hitters in the 2 leagues, Rogers Hornsby and Babe Ruth. Ruth said he thought no one would ever expect him to try to steal. Importantly, though, a Sporting News article at the time called it a failed hit and run called by Musial, who then missed the pitch. So then, you're already running.
Yeah.
Hornsby called tagging out Ruth to win the game in the series the greatest moment of his career.
And he had quite a few of those.
It was also the last game Rogers Hornsby ever played as a Cardinal.
Oh, really? What a high.
In a sec,
yeah.
Okay. I want to mention this. Bob O'Farrell, in the book, or the audio book, which is actually better because you hear their voices, Glory of Their Times, says this. I wondered why Babe tried to steal second then. A year or so later, I went on a barnstorming trip with the Babe, and I asked him. Babe said he thought Alex had forgotten he was there. Also, that the way Alex was pitching, they'd never get 2 hits in a row off him, so he better get in position to score if they got 1. Well, maybe that was good thinking and maybe not. I had him out a mile at second. But yeah, okay, back to Hornsby leaving the Cardinals. Hornsby had a beef with Cards owner Sam Breeden, so just after leading them to the championship, he was traded to the Giants for Frankie Frisch, who would be with the Cards for a decade as a player, playing in 4 more World Series with them and winning 2, and would actually manage the 1934 Cardinals team, the Gas House Gang, to the championship. Hornsby played 1927 with the Giants, and he dominated nearly as he used to, but he couldn't get along with John McGraw, so he was off to the Braves in 1928, and then the Cubs in 1929. Now, I did say he was not eligible for MVPs after he won it in 1925. Correct. But he did actually get votes, and this is weird. In 1927, with the Giants, he finished 3rd in the voting behind Paul Wainer and Frankie Frisch, who he was traded for. I do not know what would have happened had he got the most votes, because, as they say, you're only eligible to win 1, right, in your career.
Yeah.
In the American League that year, Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, 17 of them in September, right? That's 1927. He got 0 votes for the MVP.
That's criminal.
Well, because he was not considered eligible. So I'm not certain how it worked with the different leagues because the sports writers chose you. Maybe in the National League it was something different from the American League. But Ruth didn't get votes for MVP after he won the MVP at all. So, yeah. But that's the story of the MVP stuff, right?
And Alexander had 1 more 20-win season at age 40.
At age 40, yeah. And fun trivia. He had just 48 strikeouts and 268 innings pitched when he went 21-10 in 1927.
But wait, wasn't he a power pitcher?
He very, very much was. He led the league in strikeouts 6 times his first 9 seasons. But during World War I, he was an artilleryman, and the constant pulling of the lanyard, to fire thing, this is what I've read, messed up his arm enough to rob him of some of his great speed. Although his last Triple Crown season was 1920, when he led the majors in strikeouts, but the last 10 years of his career after that, he never had more than 77 in a season.
Wow, he really hung in there.
He did.
Mainstay, basically.
And every season, well, he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
And every season of his career, he had more wins than losses. Every single one until his swan song of 21 innings with the 1930 Phillies. I think it was 0-3. And then that's back with them where it all began. He retired with 373 career wins, which he believed gave him the all-time National League record by 1 over Christy Mathewson. But years later, statisticians realized they'd made an error, so they are officially tied at 373.
Oh,
right?
really?
But still, those 373 wins is still, they're tied for third all-time behind Cy Young and Walter Johnson.
Yeah, and if not for the war, he'd likely have over 400 wins.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
I mean, with the time he missed, highly likely, unless maybe he was sick or something. His story is pretty tragic, though.
How so?
Well, the war didn't just damage his arm.
Oh, okay.
All right, this is from his Sabre bio.
Okay.
Alexander spent 7 weeks at the front under relentless bombardment that left him deaf in his left ear. Pulling the lanyard to fire the howitzer caused muscle damage in his right arm. He was right-handed. He caught some shrapnel in his outer right ear. An injury, though not serious at the time, may have been the progenitor of cancer almost 30 years later. He was shell-shocked. Worst of all, the man who used to have a round or two with the guys and call it a day became alcoholic and epileptic. Alex tried to cover up his epilepsy using alcohol in the mistaken belief it would alleviate the condition. Living in a world that believed epileptics to be touched by the devil, he knew it was more socially acceptable to be a drunk.
God.
That's
That's
end quote.
Awful.
And Bob O'Farrell, too, said that Alex was not an alcoholic before the war. And after his career, he drifted around, often regaling bar patrons with his strikeout of Lazzari for drinks, right? He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1938, the 8th player, so honored, just the 8th. And when it physically opened in 1939, he's there in person in that famous photo that you guys can look up of all the inductees except Willie Keeler and Christy Mathewson, since they died by that time. But as he said, I'm in the Hall of Fame, and I'm proud to be there, but I can't eat the Hall of Fame.
What was he, like, homeless or something? The 30s was the Great Depression and all, right?
He had his small army pension, and the Cardinals sent $50 a month as his National League pension, which was not an actual thing at the time, to whoever was looking after him at the time, right? In the 1940s, he had a heart attack. He hurt himself in a fall during an epileptic seizure. He got cancer in his ear, the cancer I mentioned before, and had to amputate his ear. He last appeared in public in 1950 at games 3 and 4 of the 1950 World Series to watch his Phillies. He started, he was the real. I mean, come on, think of those three 330 win seasons in a row. And an ERA as low as 122, and throwing 16 shutouts in a season, which is still the all-time record, in the worst pitcher's park in Major League Baseball.
Exactly.
You've seen Chuck Klein left. These guys hit 398, hit 40-something homers, and on the road they were not nearly as good. He pitched. That was his home park, and he throws 16 shutouts in a season. He died not long after the World Series in 1950 on November 4th, and he was buried with full military honors.
What an incredibly sad story.
It really is. You know, you tear up thinking of Alex the Great.
Man.
Hey, in the Bill Veeck autobiography, Veeck as in wreck, which is great because I always thought he was Bill Veeck cause that's how it's spelled, but it's funny. He says Veeck as in wreck. Bill tells how when he was a kid, because his family was always involved with baseball, he was hanging around with Alexander at a fun fair, and there was one of those dunk tanks where you throw a baseball and hit the target, the guy falls into the water. And drops, and the guy's ragging the crowd, and he says to Alex something along the lines of, "Hey, you couldn't hit a cow with a barn door."
Does he not recognize him? That is the worst idea.
And this is when Dode is the best pitcher on the planet. Well, him and Walter Johnson are the best pitchers on the planet. So Alex, in his usual rumpled suit and his crooked hat, he goes over and just bam, 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 just keeps endlessly dunking the poor guy in the water. Yeah.
But surely the crowd should have eventually recognized him.
It didn't even take eventually. It's like after 2 throws, they were like,
hang on, I've seen that
You've seen him in the papers.
I've seen that throw before.
So, well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a toast to one of my favorite players of all time, who never met a hitter he couldn't beat. Grover Cleveland Alexander.
Grover Cleveland. To Dode.
To Dode. And there, my friends, we shall leave you for today.
No, we shall not. What? Hang on. Whoa. What the fuck? Okay.
And language, man.
Okay, sorry. I don't care about my language. You still haven't told us about the thing Rogers Hornsby did not do. This is 2 episodes in a row.
But we don't have time now. I'll have to tell you. I'll tell you next time.
Dude, this is... come on, bro. You're killing me over here. Like, these 2 episodes are like an hour and a half total, and you still haven't talked about what Rogers Hornsby hadn't done.
This is not my fault. You asked me what Hornsby did in 1926. You asked about Bubbles Hargrave. You asked me to tell you the story of the Fred fucking Flintstone 1926 Six World Series. You want me to pause the recording and tell you? I'll pause the recording and I'll tell you the thing. You want me to?
No. I should react properly when hearing it the first time in the next episode.
Okay, so next time it shall be.
God damn it.
And until then, and I do apologize to everyone out there as well. This episode, as usual, it seems, got away from me. That's a good story of this 26 World Series.
It's a great story.
But the Hornsby thing is really worth hearing, too.
I mean, to be fair, all of the stuff we covered just now is also worth it.
Yeah, come on. You should. And if you want us... Let's see, I'll do a plug. If you want us to continue to preserve the baseball past for the future, go to patreon.com and join us there. We've actually added a couple more membership tiers, but any paid members get the episodes most often a day or 3 early anyhow, at any level. But I've been sick lately, so we're not able to record this one until the day before release. This is Saturday we're doing this.
Yeah. And go to the website, baseballhistorytimemachine.com, and write and tell us what a jerk Indy is for stringing me along with the Rogers Hornsby bullshit, and all of you, of course, and how much you want to bet that this thing he did not do is going to be...
it's going to be like something he didn't do that anybody could. It's going to be give birth or something like that.
Roger Hornsby did not, in fact, fight in the Anglo-Boer War.
Yeah, well, so that's Well, it will be worth it, everyone. When I finally do it, I promise. And with that, I shall take us home. So that is it for today from me, Indy Neidell,
and me, Burns,
and the Baseball History Time Machine. Oh, hey, you know what? I'm going to fade this next part out. There's an X-Files episode from like 1995 or so where they ask a girl what school she goes to, and she says Grover Cleveland Alexander High School.
That's brilliant. There's actually one?
No, there should be one. They name high schools after presidents. So there's lots of Grover Cleveland high schools because he was president when Alexander was